Hello, and how are you? I will give you a few minutes to hop on today. Comment, like, share, all that stuff to help these stories be shown to other people. Alrighty. Today is day 26, believe it or not, of 30 Women, 30 Stories. Tomorrow is Wednesday, September 30th. And like I said, September 1st, I was going to go to the end of the month, and that would be tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have the rest of the stories to wrap up this amazing series of women really sharing their testimonies. And like I said in the beginning, and I've kind of mentioned it almost in all the videos, it is so important to share our testimonies with others, especially right now. Of course, COVID, all that didn't help, being quarantined. So in a way, people are feeling isolated. They're feeling like they're the only ones who are going through, X, Y, and Z. And we're here to tell you, you don't have to go through it alone. And definitely out of the 30 stories, you should be able to resonate with one. Definitely connect with the women. That is always my suggestion, and a lot of the women are saying the same thing. Connect yourself with like-minded Christian women. You're able to build each other up, and they will give you godly counsel, because we tell people the wrong stuff and they'll be trying to veer us on the wrong way. All right, so definitely comment and share when you're on here. Do not forget to subscribe to A Note for God on YouTube. Like I said, I love that because they're already on YouTube, and they're going to be on YouTube forever. Well, hopefully, YouTube. But you can always go back and watch the replays as you're walking, working out. You just, want to sit back at night and watch something. Definitely put this on the TV and listen to some of the videos. Again, if you resonate with somebody, definitely connect. A lot of them are on Facebook. And if you look at the YouTube description, some of them have websites, some of them have groups on Facebook. So definitely connect. If one of those stories resonates with you and you also know somebody's going through that, definitely say, hey, here's a link on YouTube. I was watching it, thought about you. So definitely take a listen and see what you think, and maybe this person can help you. So definitely. So today again is day 26. My guest is here, Lucero. Let me bring her up here. Hello. I know it's all right. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day.
You're welcome.
Let me turn this off before it goes back on. Of course, we're always so busy. And I always say this disclaimer because I have two. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old that sometimes will come up here acting like they've never eaten and like, I'm hungry. So I always like to say my disclaimer. I have kids, so it is what it is.
I do too, so.
Yeah, that's life, like they can be quiet like for 2 seconds. And the minute you get on the phone, the minute you have to do a video conference, the minute it's like, all of a sudden it's like, you're not paying me attention, or you weren't even talking to me for 5 seconds. So, but it is whatever. So thank you so much. Let's get started. That's why I always say, let's get started right away before they come on here. I already hear footsteps. What do you need? Do we need something?
What's this?
That's the things I'm going to do in a second.
Where's the unicorn?
Okay, we'll get the unicorn. Anyway, so go ahead and get started. So tell me a little bit about your background, childhood, and then what events led you really to surrendering and giving your life over to Christ, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so as growing up, everybody, like all the little girls decide want to be a mom. They play dolls and they're like, oh, I can't wait to be an adult and have a family. Just like you play like with your dolls and you dream of being a mother one day. So I've been married for I say married, but I've been together with my husband for 10 years. We've been married for 4.
Okay.
And we have 2 children. And so at first, when I had my first child, it wasn't hard to get pregnant. And then I waited 8 years to have my second son. So I didn't think anything of it. I didn't even think I had something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, it took me a while, but I was blaming the birth control I was on for a while. So I was like, that's probably what it is. But the doctor diagnosed me with PCOS, and basically it's just hard for someone with PCOS to conceive, and there's like a lot of conditions and that come with that. So, I got pregnant with my second son, but I had to do a lot of things in order for that to happen. So, my son is 2. So during this time, I kind of, you know, I guess distance myself from um from God, from learning more about the Bible, just I feel like I just distanced myself. And there was always something there in my heart that was missing, but I just, I didn't realize what was missing. And what was missing is me getting back into, worshiping and getting into church and reading the Bible and, just being overall a nice person to other people.
Right.
So I knew something was missing there. I was just like, what is missing? But I could, I just try to ignore it. So, um, March, I started feeling like really weird. Like I was coming down with a stomach bug, and I was like, something's not right. But I didn't think, I was pregnant because I had gained weight. And with my PCOS, it's hard to get pregnant as is. So I'm like, it's just probably a stomach bug or something. But I decided to take a pregnancy test, and I was it turned out that I was pregnant, and I was in shock. I was like, how did this happen? So
How
I
did
was
this
like,
happen? Now that's a good question. I think I said the same thing when I was like, wait, what does this mean? Positive.
yeah, I was like, how did this happen? So I bought like 10 pregnancy tests until it was like positive, and I announced it to my family, to my friends. I was so happy. I didn't think anything of it. So a few weeks go by, and I start cramping and spotting, and like something in me was like, okay, something's not right.
Yeah.
And I did tell my husband, like, I feel like, I'm going to lose this pregnancy. And he was like, why do you say that? I'm like, because it's so different from the others. So, COVID stuff had started, and the insurance company was taking a long time to approve my insurance. So I ended up going to the ER because the symptoms started getting worse.
Yeah.
So at the ER, they were like, you know what, you're 5 weeks. We can only see the sac. So your numbers are really good. So we just don't know why it's happening, but it's probably, a threatened miscarriage. So 2 days later after that, I went to see my doctor. They drew my blood and everything. And she was like, I think it's just, I don't think you're miscarrying. But then that day I went home. I was in a lot of pain, something, that I had never felt before. Well,
Yeah.
I had, but, like with my pregnancies, I've never felt that pain unless I was in labor. So I was like, something's not right. So I ended up miscarrying. And it was it was something like that. It's traumatizing, very
Right.
traumatizing. Like I would hear about other people having a miscarriage, but until you go through it yourself, you really know like how bad it is and how horrible it feels.
Emotion.
So I did end up having a miscarriage, and I went back to the doctors to get an ultrasound, and I went back to the doctors, and I heard her. She told her staff, she's like, I'm gonna need all the courage to tell her the news, but I already knew what had happened.
Right, because
So
you know your own body. Like when something is not right, even whether mostly when you're pregnant, you're like, wait, like I know, yeah.
I already knew it because,
Yeah.
I seen what had happened. So I'm like, I already knew it. I
Right.
had prepared myself because I was like, I'm not going to break down in there and just cry. I'm just going to be strong. And just imagine, like, I couldn't go with my husband, like my husband couldn't come in because of the COVID.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, I had to do it all alone. When I got the ultrasound done, I went by myself. It was horrible because the ladies there didn't know I was miscarrying. Like the doctor never told her that. So whenever, I remember I was being rude to them, but it was because I was hurting. I was so
Yeah.
mad, and I was like, they were like, "So how far along are you?" I'm like, I don't know. I just want to get it over with. And she looked at me like, "This woman's crazy." And that's when I was like, "I'm miscarrying." She's like, "Oh, like the doctor didn't tell them." So
Oh wow.
whenever I went to the doctor's office, I had already prepared myself for what was happening. So she was like, I'm sorry, but it looks like you are miscarrying, you miscarried some, but you still have to miscarry the rest, the remainder.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I was she was like, I'm going to give you some medication that will help your body get rid of the rest, and we'll follow up until your HCG levels go to zero. I'm like, I'm not coming back anymore, because I'm like, I'm looking at these pregnant ladies and I'm over here, miscarrying. It was horrible. So I ended up taking the medication, and I just, after the whole experience, I felt so alone, and I felt like
Mhm.
nobody understood what I was going through. But at the same time, I was trying just to, I guess, to put on my strong face and say nothing's wrong, everything's okay. But
Mhm.
deep down, I knew, like, I was hurting so bad, and I just, I was so mad. I was so mad at God, because I was like,
Mhm.
you know, I'm a good mother, I was,
Mhm.
I'm a good mother. I'm not a bad parent. And here these people are having kids left and right, and being bad parents to their children, like neglecting their children, or, just doing drugs and everything. So it's like, I deserve this baby. Like, I just don't understand. I was so upset. And for the longest, I really didn't, I didn't want to pray. I just didn't care, because I was so hurt. And so I tried to numb the pain with drinking.
Oh, wow.
The drinking got out of hand, because it was like,
Cool.
the weekend came around, and I'm over here like, let's go get some margaritas, or let's go buy something to drink. And I would just drink at home, and my husband was like, what is wrong? But I really didn't want to talk about it, because I felt like
Right.
he didn't understand what I was going through.
Right.
So, when I was drinking, it would, everything would come back, and it would just be worse, because I was just thinking about what had happened. And my husband's like, "Why are you crying?" And I just broke down. And yeah, like I said, the drinking was getting bad. It was just like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of thing, especially because the margaritas here were to go. You couldn't, the
Right.
restaurant
Right.
were.
Everything was to go. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, let's just take me to get some alcohol. Like, I just,
Right.
I didn't care.
Right.
So then I was just so upset. I didn't, like, my mom would just tell me, just pray, things happen for a reason, pray, and I was just like, oh, I'm so over it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So
Right.
then I spent some like a while like that. I felt like I was alone, like my friends didn't understand. I only had like two of them that had gone through the same thing, that were very supportive during this time. So 6 weeks later, I start feeling sick again, and feeling like I have the stomach bug that I had felt prior. And I'm like, something's not right. But I'm like, I just don't want to get my hopes up, because
Right.
I told everybody, like my family and everybody was like, I'm not having another kid. Like, this was traumatizing enough. I'm done. I don't want to go through it. I'm
Right.
done. So, with my PCOS, I didn't think again that I was pregnant. So
Right.
6 weeks come around. I feel sick to my stomach. Like, I'm just like, am I gonna get the virus? Like, something's not right.
Right.
I was just
Like, I
freaking out.
want to COVID.
Yeah, I was like, am I sick with the virus? I was freaking out. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go buy a pregnancy test just in case. And my insurance hadn't been approved. So I'm like, if I go back to the doctor, you know, and they're just like, it's the remainder of your HCG. That's why, your pregnancy test is positive.
Right.
So I took a test, and I was in shock. And I told my husband, I'm pregnant, I guess. I don't know. So because after that, I never, like, I went back to the doctors one more time, but I never went back, because I'm like, I'm not going through this again. I'm just done going to the doctor's office. So it turned out positive, and I'm like, maybe it's the remainder of my hormones. I don't know. So I wasn't trying to get my hopes up. I
Right.
told my mom, and I had made the following a follow-up appointment with my OBGYN. So they decided every time you go there, you have to do a urine test. So they did that.
Yeah.
She walked in the room. She's like, "Congratulations, you're pregnant." And I'm like, "What?" So I was like, "Are you sure? Like, it's not the remainder, of the hormone from last pregnancy?" She's like, "No, this is a new pregnancy, and I estimate you're around 3 to 4 weeks." And I was just like, I was just in shock.
Wow.
So I was just in shock. And she was like, okay, so we're gonna, go ahead and draw your blood. take it easy. We're going to put you on progesterone pills to help you carry the pregnancy just in case your progesterone levels are low. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I was so scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I
Yeah.
just can't believe it. And having a toddler that I have to carry and
Oh,
pick, and
oh,
hold and everything, it was like crazy. So I was like, okay, I got this. So I went and told my mom what was going on. And then I had a follow up a few weeks after, since, I had the miscarriage. So I followed up. I had to get blood work done again to see if my numbers were going up correctly. So when I was driving to her office, it's about a 20-minute drive from my house. So I was driving and I was just like, so I'm like, I'm just gonna listen to Christian music because I'm like, I haven't listened to that in a while. So I was like, okay. So I was, I just kept on listening, and everything the song was saying was like, it's like God was speaking to me, like, hey, I'm here. You've been
right.
ignoring me all this time. So I just broke down in the car, and I
Yeah.
was like, I'm so sorry for just being like hard-headed and not, praying and not trusting you and not believing that, that you were going to do a miracle you're going to work a miracle in my life. So I was just crying. And at that moment, I felt like he was talking to me, like he was telling me, like, hey, you have to pray, trust in me,
Yeah.
don't give up, I'm here, everything's going to be fine. And I just felt a relief. I was like, this is what I needed all along.
Right, right.
And there was like just 3 songs in particular that were just playing, that I was like, okay, God is speaking to me. It's, the song was talking about miracles, trust
Yeah,
in him in hard times. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I was praying and crying, and
yeah,
I felt so relieved. Like that stress, that depression, everything was just gone. Like
yeah.
I felt so much better. Like I was like, okay, he has he got this. Like, okay, I
Right.
trust him. So after that, I kept on following up, and everything, was good. Everything has been good ever since that time. And I've changed a lot because uh I I don't know, like I told my husband, like my husband's like, you're changing, like is it your pregnancy hormones? And I'm like, no, it's
That's,
God.
that's hilarious. Always men are like, let me
Yes.
tiptoe around this.
Yes, and I'm like, no, it's God, because I've been praying, I've been
Right.
getting closer to God. I've been, just reading books and reading the Bible and
Mhm.
being nice to other people, even if other people aren't the nicest to you.
Yeah,
You just have to be nice and respect others, treat others with respect. And I was like, you know what? Right now, I'm seeing things that before I didn't think were wrong, or that I was doing something bad. Like I didn't feel like they were bad, but
yeah.
now that I'm getting closer to God and learning and everything, I'm just like, those things were bad. And I'm like, no, I'm like, I just can't believe I was doing that at that time. So right now I'm currently 24 weeks pregnant. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I am. This is probably my last child because all this craziness. But I have 2 boys, and this is a girl.
Oh, I think I saw your picture. You guys like they're like a little like gender reveal, right?
Yes,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
they're
I
our
do remember.
family.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, and it's a girl. And throughout my pregnancy, it went pretty smooth. But any type of pain or cramp, I was just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? I was scared, but then at the same time, I'm like, you know, I have, he has this. I'm
Mhm.
trusting the Lord. He has this, and right now we've made it to 24 weeks, and I was around 6 weeks. I go to my parents' house every day. Like it's an everyday thing because they live close to me, and I really don't hang out with anybody because of all this stuff that's going around.
Right.
So I only just go to my parents' house and back. And so I go there every day. We share stuff, and it's crazy because my parents started feeling tired, and my mom's like, I feel tired, and my dad felt tired, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's, I don't know, a virus. I don't know. So they felt tired, and I still kept going over there for like 3 days after they were saying they were feeling tired.
Yeah.
So I kept going over there. I was around 6 weeks pregnant, And like a few days later, my mom was like, you know what, just stop coming over because I really don't know what's wrong with us.
Yeah.
And we're having the same symptoms, just feeling really tired. And then just one day my dad couldn't breathe, so
Wow.
she took him to urgent care. Like, it just happened really fast. And they were like, hey, your oxygen's really low, we suspect you guys have COVID.
Oh,
And
wow.
my mom was like, they think we have COVID. And I was like, what? Because they take care of themselves, but my dad has to work. So,
Right.
I'm like, work, there's no telling, if he got it from work. So he ended up going to the hospital that day, and he got admitted because his oxygen was low. And I remember they told him he had pneumonia. They were pretty sure he had COVID.
Yeah.
So my mom quarantined herself at home with my brother. We did as well. So his test came back the next day that he was positive, and I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, so now I'm pregnant. I might have COVID, and they don't know like how it affects a pregnant woman. And I asked groups, and they were like, well, I miscarried because I got COVID, and I wasn't, in the second trimester. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was so
Wow.
scared. So my mom tested positive. My brother, who lives with my mom, tested negative,
Okay.
and we quarantined ourselves and got tested, and we tested negative, but we still had to quarantine ourselves 14 days in case we developed it later. And
Right.
I was praying, I'm like, oh my gosh, please, like, God, I'm already 6 weeks, please just be with me because I don't want to lose this pregnancy. And we ended up not getting COVID at all. So my dad spent 14 days
Oh.
in the critical care unit. And he was able to. I was just so, I was scared. I had to be strong for my mom because my mom was worried about my dad,
Yeah.
and she was sick at the same time. And then, I had to be strong because she was crying. She's like, I'm scared, he's not gonna make it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And just being pregnant, I had to be strong for both of them. And
Right.
I prayed and I listened to the same song, and I was like, he's gonna heal both of them and they're gonna be okay. My dad, 14 days later, he was released from the hospital. And then, my mom didn't have really bad symptoms, just
Yeah.
a mild case. My brother never ended up testing positive. So my stepdad he's my stepdad, but I call him dad. He
Yeah.
he came back home, and and I was like, okay, that was one of the biggest um test that I'm like, oh, I was
You
like,
got
oh my gosh.
you
And
got trust.
everything, went really good. My kids didn't have it, I didn't have it. And I was everything, like, even if I was hot, I'm like, am I getting a fever? Like, I was just so scared.
Right, right, right.
And
You were a little traumatized because obviously because of your previous pregnancy. Yeah.
yes, I was very traumatized. And I'm just so thankful that my parents made it, because other people, don't make it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm 24 weeks, and I'm just like, I just can't believe it. And I'm just like really thankful that he did, he worked this miracle in my life, and he placed my daughter, in my belly for a reason. And
Yeah.
I just can't believe it. And I know other women have reached out to me, like, saying, hey,
Yeah.
I've had a miscarriage, but I didn't want to talk about it because it's something like Hispanics really don't talk about. It's not, they don't really share that. And I
Mm.
was very open with my story because I was like, maybe it'll help somebody else who's grieving or going through something like that.
Right.
So a friend reached out to me, and she was like, I had a miscarriage. I'm so sad. And I just told her, pray. He's gonna, he'll come through. Just have faith and pray.
Mhm.
And a few weeks later went by, and she's like, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, oh
Oh,
my gosh, and I was just so happy, but I'm just so thankful for what he has done for me. And I don't feel like I will ever go back to my old ways because he has blessed me so much. And
mhm.
I am so grateful for everything, he's blessed me with. And ever since I started getting closer to God and praying and everything, like, my whole life has changed
Yeah.
for the better.
Yeah, and I think we all realize that once you really start shifting more towards him, everything starts changing around you. And as you were talking about, your parents having COVID and you did not, thank you. It reminds me of Psalms 91, 1,000 may fall on, or 10,000 may fall on your right, 1,000 in your right, but it will not come near me or mine. So that's like that continuously being protection. And when you were talking about the three songs that were played in the car, just to kind of give you a little wake up call and crying, I think we've all had that experience, because I had the exact same thing, but I was in the kitchen cooking, of all things. And one of the songs of what is the name of the group? Casting Crowns. I think it's Casting Crowns. One of their songs came, and it was so funny. I was just cooking, right? Like you were just driving. I was cooking, and that was this. I wasn't really listening to the lyrics, right? I was like, oh, nice melody. But all of a sudden, the lyrics started becoming loud, where I started listening to every word. I was like, hold up. And then I started listening to more, and I just started bawling in my kitchen. My kids were sleeping. And then I'm the kind of person that has to look up the lyrics, like, so I can read it,
Yes.
not because people, be going up and down with their voices. So I go on YouTube, because I was playing it, I think on like, I think I was playing on YouTube, but it wasn't the lyrics, right? So then I'll look up the Casting Crown lyrics, and it says, you don't have to try anymore, right? You have to surrender. And I was just like, I mean, you got my attention. Like that song, I could totally relate to you. Like that song was like, okay, you're strong enough. You've been strong enough. It's time pretty much to kind of let it go and let me take care of that burden, or, whatever you're going through. So I think we can relate. Going back to what you were saying before you got pregnant the first time, you were saying that you kind of like veered off, or you weren't reading the Bible as much, and whatever. Was there any particular reasons, or was it like what we'd say, like just the routine of life?
I guess because I was just focused on like cosas del mundo. I guess
Yeah,
that's what Hispanics say, cosas del mundo, rather than just
really.
focusing on God and following the right path. That's what I was focused on, like going out and stuff like that, and not just focused on doing the right thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can relate to that. That it's kind of like, this is everything else is priority, or we say is priority, but in reality it's not. And I will come to the Bible, I will come to God when I'm ready. I think one of the girls in one of the interviews was saying, let me do all my partying and all this stuff.
Yeah.
When I'm like 35, 40, or when I get older, I will then turn my life to Christ. And she's like, it doesn't work. But that also, and I wanted to ask you that question, because then it kind of brings us to the realization that it is so important to dedicate that time to reading the Bible and spending time with God. And if we don't make an effort, just like you were saying, like you kind of start veering, hold on a second, you start veering off and doing other things that are not really important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. And it's important to teach your children that, have faith, believe in God, teach them things like that so they can grow up and have those values.
Yeah, exactly. Especially as a mother. I mean, I became a mother. I always want to say older, because, I'm Mexican American, and you have to, according to our stereotype, you have like 5 kids by the time you're 20.
Yeah.
I was often asked, like, how many kids do you have? And I'm like, none. Like, I don't have. Oh, but how old are you? 25, 20. Oh my God, you don't know. I didn't have my first daughter till I was 34. So I did have them a little bit older, but it kind of makes you realize like how to raise them and really what to teach them. You know what I mean? Because, kids learn from you. So if you're not reading the Bible, if you're not listening to worship music, if you're not going to service, well, where do you think they're going to learn it from?
Right.
So that's like super. Yeah, it was super, super important. And so when is your due date? Because I know you said you're 24 weeks.
January 15.
Ooh, 2021 baby. Okay.
Yes.
Good. I'm sure you guys are super excited, and it's a girl, so she's gonna get everything.
Yeah.
Because you always say that because you already have 2 boys.
2 boys.
Yes, I have 1 boy and I have a girl, so I know I have both of them. All right, thank you so much for sharing that. So, question number 1 is advice you would give women that are going through the same thing you went through. Oh, and before I'm sorry to interrupt you, but before you go there, I want to say that I really appreciate that you are sharing because you're right. In the Latino community, I've never, and I'm older than whatever. I don't think I've ever heard them ever, like any friends or even aunties or great or anybody mentioned they ever had a miscarriage. It wasn't until this summer, I think, that somebody, I'm not gonna get all that in there, but somebody told me of somebody that I know that is related to me that had a miscarriage when she had a miscarriage when she first got married. And I was like, well, how come? What? But what?
Yeah.
And it's like it's not talked about. And like you said, you really should talk about it because you need to heal from it. And like you, fortunately, you did get better, but then it spirals down to drinking alcohol. If alcohol is in your choice, it might be depression, it might be drugs, and it can all be avoided if you and when you talk. Instead of just building it up. But it's great that you're talking about it with other women.
And I think one of the main reasons Hispanic women don't talk about it is because the like the comments you get from other people are horrible. Like I like when I talked about the miscarriage, people I knew or even friends were like, one of them was like, well, maybe because it's because you're overweight. That's why you couldn't carry your baby because you're overweight. And I was just like, what? And then the other comment I got, well, at least you got 2 babies. I'm like,
doesn't make me feel better.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, and I'm just like, that's not good. So I guess a lot of women don't share because people are not really, I guess they're not really nice, or they don't know what to say and they say the wrong things. And I'm glad I had a friend that she was like, hey, I see women that are 400 pounds in my office, so it's not because of your weight.
I was gonna say that. I was like, I don't. No, there is a there is a part, but it's not. No, we've seen women. When you're pregnant and you go to those offices, you see women of all sizes in there.
Yes, and I was just saying, she's like, get that out of your head. It's not because of your weight. And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. So I'm just like, okay, it's not my fault. So I guess that's one of the reasons people don't really talk about it.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, like some people don't have compassion, and I always say, like, if you really haven't been through whatever somebody's saying, like, it's best just not to say anything, or just be like, I'm here for you when you need to talk. And it kind of brings up to, it's important to have those good friendships. So let's say something happens, you're able to rely on those people and not rely on these people who don't know what the comments are saying.
Yes.
Because you need somebody to talk to. Anyway, so I just wanted to commend you on that because that's very important, I think, especially in the Latino community, that you have to talk about it. And because it's something I've never experienced, but I do know some people, and it's still emotional. It's very emotional to go through it,
Yes.
So, all right. So anyway, going back to question number 1, advice you would give women that are going through the same thing you went through.
To never give up. Don't give up, because some people give up like right away, like me. So do not give up and pray. Pray because he's gonna work a miracle in your life.
Yeah, that's true. So pray. I think every lady has said that, and it's so important. Question number 2: what are some important things to do as a Christian woman?
Pray and read the Bible. That's very important.
Yeah, I would also agree with you because, and I always say this because I was a history teacher, read it so you know what it says, because when somebody comes around and says it, according to their words, you can say that's inaccurate, and then you can go be like, wait, I don't think that's right. Let me go read, because it's so important just to read. A lot of people don't. I was surprised. All right, and then question number 3: what are some of your favorite Bible verses?
Oh, my favorite is God is within her; she will not fall. That is one of my favorites.
I don't know if you saw that picture. I don't know. You can see it.
Yeah,
that's what the picture says.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. That's one of my favorites too. That's why I bought it, because I was like, it's even in a continuing reading it and just being okay. It's not. It will work out eventually. It will work out. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time again to share your story, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with many women who have, if not have shared what has happened, because like you said, a lot of them go through miscarriages and never mention it ever. And that is probably the reason that things are going around, because they really have to heal about that. So thank you so much. Definitely, if any of you are watching the replay, definitely, if you know someone that's going through that or went through it and really is not sure how to cope, definitely try to connect her with Lucero, because I'm sure she will love to help you out, and definitely make a friend, via Facebook or something.
Right.
So again, thank you so much. Again, tomorrow, you guys, will be the last day. Here you go. The last day of 30 Women, 30 Stories. I have a few stories tomorrow, and then that would be it for the month series. Don't forget, they're all on YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook. Lucero, thank you so much for coming on. You have a good night.
You're welcome. Bye.